Well, I stand before you surprised but grateful. My name is Pat Maney. I'm a broken but undefeated soldier. I say I was surprised, and I hate to kind of keep the references to undertakers rolling, but I asked Colonel Collins. Let me start over again. I'm a Southern State University graduate, and then I went to a Southern State University law school, and I was an ROTC graduate, and most of my career was in the reserve. I had about 8.5 years of active duty, but I was kind of nervous about getting up here and talking to this distinguished audience. That's the commandant, the trustees, the faculty, and my fellow warriors and family members, friends. And she said, Colonel Collins gave me 2 pieces of advice for today. One was, you're going to be like an undertaker. You're going to be up there. Everyone else is going to be below you, and nobody's going to be listening.
I didn't say that.
Wait till the next one. You know, the Army War College was really a wonderful, very difficult experience for me. I really think it was the best academic education I received in the Army. It broadened my horizons. It gave me an opportunity to meet people both as a student and then later an absolutely incredible alumni organization. Those people shaped my future. They became friends. They provided a network, not just in the service, but for my post-military life. I want to mention a couple of people, and it may sound redundant from what other honorees have said, but it's really true. I was a young captain, and at that point, I thought this guy was a grizzled old lieutenant colonel. And he told me, whatever you do, now this is coming post-Vietnam. I hadn't gone to Vietnam. I'd been commissioned, but I hadn't gone to Vietnam. So I didn't think that I had any future in the Army particularly. And this grizzled lieutenant colonel named Dave Palmer, who graduated here from law school, said, whatever you do, keep up with your education. Always be educationally ready for the next job because you have no idea what the next job's going to be. And so as a young captain who still had to go to CNGS, still had to do the advanced course, the War College sounded a long way away. But I followed his advice. I was a lawyer. I practiced law with a fellow who graduated from here. He was a infantry battalion commander in World War II named Bruce Babbitt. General Babbitt got out of the Army after World War II, went to law school, became a lawyer. Korea started. The Army called him back in and said, you're going to be a battalion commander in Korea. And he said, I'm a lawyer. I'm a JAG now. And you can serve as a JAG when the Army lets you serve as a JAG, but we have a problem, and you're an experienced infantry battalion commander, so go take command of your battalion. General Babbitt was very involved in our community with the Red Cross, and he continued to serve. And then I met Carl McNair. General McNair graduated from here, and he's one of the prior awardees. If you know General McNair, he was the first chief of Army Aviation. He is in every organization around, not just as a member, but as a leader. And Dave Bockel, General Dave Bockel, was a Vietnam veteran. We're contemporaries. I actually graduated from War College, I think, the year before he did. But General Bockel was in everything. And what I learned from following the models of those gentlemen was that we all are called to having continued service. And then I got a call one day while I was at Fort Bragg. My secretary told me that Mr. Hoffman called me from the Pentagon. I was a deputy DCG. I was a deputy commander. And those of you who have been deputies at any organizational level know the deputy's job is to run around and put out fires. Do whatever the boss wants you to do. I was busy. I didn't call back. The next day, my secretary said, Mr. Hoffman called from the Pentagon. So I returned the call, and 17 months later, I was in Afghanistan and blown up. But I met Marty Hoffman, former Secretary of the Army, and Mrs. Hoffman is with us today. And at that point, he was probably in his mid-70s, I guess. But if you've ever conceived of a whirling dervish, that was Marty Hoffman. He could work more and faster and harder and longer than any man I've ever met. He used to say, when some of us would grinch about the hour, and he would say, lunch is a crutch for the weak. He did. Now here's a man who should have retired, and he was working for free for the Department of Defense, for the Department of the Army, trying to help us win in Afghanistan. And when I got injured, he became a guardian angel for me at Walter Reed. And those of you who have been wounded know that sometimes the Army system, the system isn't as touchy-feely as we would like. But Mr. Hoffman, Secretary Hoffman, taught me, A, a sense of urgency, and B, that while we can't change the system, we can change individual lives. And that's our responsibility. So, when I retired from the Army, I really felt a compulsion to take care of wounded warriors and their families. And I have to say that the strategic vision, the tactical stuff we've all gotten before any of us get here, but the strategic vision of seeing a problem, conceptualizing a solution, and making the solution work has been a real blessing to me, and I hope to others. But I really do credit people like Secretary Hoffman and the Army War College for getting me there. One of the amazing networks which has blessed me, and I hope blessed others, is most of my career was in Army Special Operations. Colonel Mike Ripley down here is the deputy commander of the 7th Special Forces Group, which is located where I live. And that brotherhood has just continued. And if you know Colonel Ripley, you know how involved he is, not only in taking care of our soldiers and their families, but also making sure the Army is part of our community, because our Army is only as strong as our communities will let it be. And so I want to thank Colonel Ripley. Now, I mentioned earlier that Colonel Collins gave me 2 pieces of advice. One was about the undertaker. Now, she wouldn't let me tell you the other piece of advice without acknowledging my wife, my partner, my caregiver for 48 years, the lady who took care of me at Walter Reed and kept me going, and when I fell down, she picked me up. But Colonel Collins said, "You've got 5 minutes." And then she gave the Army advice that they give to so many general officers. Remember Caesar. Caesar was a general. Caesar gave long speeches. They killed Caesar. So with that, I just want to thank the Army War College, the foundation, and urge the class of 2020, whenever your military service ends, keep serving. Find your place in the civilian community, in the veteran community, in the Army community, and keep serving. Thank you. God bless each of you, and God bless the United States.